This is the first conference of its kind at the WTO, looking at pressing issues in international trade cooperation today from an economic angle.
I chaired the session on what is the value of a rules-based system based on international cooperation. There is great value in a system that prevents trade wars. Collaboration, even on small issues, for instance on e-commerce, may bring about large efficiency gains, but also large inequality. There are some problems in the system as it relates to enforcement of the rules or lack of rules in some important areas that need to be addressed to avoid countries taking unilateral actions outside of the organizations that put great stress on the system.
The panel that I chaired today was called The Design of Trade Agreements, Policy Rationale and Reality Check. On a day-to-day or week-to-week or month-to-month basis, you have countries experience lots of economic shocks, trade volume shocks, surges of imports coming in, or economic downturns. How is the trade agreement supposed to be designed to be able to accommodate the need for governments to have flexibility to sometimes change their levels of trade protection?
Our session was really about how to reach decisions about negotiations and other matters in the WTO against a background of challenges that we've had in the last years over how to take forward the negotiating process. And the idea here is that there is a way, using a precedent that was set in Buenos Aires, the 11th Ministerial, of looking at particular issues with a subset of the membership. It was generally accepted this was an interesting avenue to pursue. It must be on the basis of a non-discriminatory approach. So if you're in or you're out, you don't lose any of your rights.
I chaired the last session, which is on sustainability and looking forward in the trading system. The emphasis of the session turned out to be largely on labor market effects and on how we ensure inclusiveness in terms of those that are basically hurt by the process of globalization or otherwise displaced. So some of the topics that we then focused on were what one can do in terms of education policies and labor mobility. And actually some of this is not really WTO specific, it's more behind the border. But to what extent can countries cooperate on things like this?
The new World Development Report is going to be on trade, actually. So it's going to be on global value chains. And what's interesting about this World Development Report is that there has not been a report on trade from the World Bank for the last 30 years. It was at the time of the trade tensions between the US and Japan, and this was one of the most critical issues in international trade at the time. If you read this report, it's full of anxiety about the future of trade. This report failed to foresee the emergence of NAFTA, for example, or for the WTO, the hyper-globalization wave that followed the 1980s. Perhaps we are failing to see that there is potential for a new wave of hyper-globalization to come along.
The trading system has been under pressure before, and each time it has emerged stronger than before. In 2008, we faced the worst economic crisis for many decades, and the system proved its value, preventing an outbreak of protectionist measures. In 2013, after years of deadlock, we proved that we could deliver negotiated results, and today we must rise to the challenge again and turn the crisis that we have into an opportunity to renew and strengthen the system for the future.